Hello, everyone. We did stop in the bracket of peak human, or close to superhuman capabilities fighters, so let's continue with my list, without many words.
New challenger, Josie Rizal.
I got this.
Opening up the list is Josie Rizal, a Filipino representation known for being a kickboxer and, at the same time, a model, essentially a replacement for Bruce Servant. She has great potential, but crying like a baby in the middle of a battle won't give her an edge or any advantages. Other than that, no feats, no law impact, no wins unless you consider the battle with Kuma a win for her. But a more fitting and rational thought is that Kuma probably gets an easy win. First of all, she's more of a model than a fighter. She wasn't inclined to be a kickboxer. It was only because of her parents' expectations that she became one. I'm not implying that she's weak, but this aspect adds to her personality and could be considered somewhat of a psychological weakness, a potential edge in a fight. I guess. Why is she ranked above someone like Sebas? Well, it's simple. There's a massive gap between a young, somewhat experienced martial artist and, as they say, a top-notch kickboxer. Kickboxing beats self-taught martial arts any day. Cosaina Alves. Wait, who? I really forgot about her existence. Why is she even in the roster? Isn't it because of thirsty Namco developers? Anyway, Katarina seems cocky and confident about her skills as she enters the Iron Fist tournament, where participated diverse range of opponents, from masters of martial arts to magic users, psycho cyborg killers, and even bears. She was adopted by a mysterious individual who taught her the savate techniques of kickboxing style from young age. Pretty underrated style actually. Despite this, she lacks significant feats and law impact as 70% Castar. While she fought against Gigas, her adoptive father turned by G Corporation into Abomination, there's no way that she actually beated him in a canon. Overall, she has more of a storyline than result. From the standpoint of lore, she learned her martial art from childhood, honing her skills, and has a style that is simply better, at least from my perspective. Plus, she actually participated in the Iron King tournament, even though we don't know the necessary qualifications to participate. At the very least, she's an above-average fighter as a participant who battled Gigas and survived. Christy Montero, a palette swap of Eddie, was taught the art of capoeira by her legendary grandpa, a master in this martial form, and Eddie Gordo himself. Now, she's a skilled user of capoeira. We know that she's a martial arts prodigy, and I want to draw attention to the fact that she completely mastered the style of capoeira in just 2 years. Whether it's due to Eddie's excellent teaching or Christy's innate skill, she's a prodigy who can master any kind of style. The style itself may seem somewhat useless, especially when compared to others, but she does have at least some lore implications. Combat is essentially self-aware, specifically designed for combat android. However, it failed, and it was either destroyed or used for some other purpose. By story, Combat is a bipedal fighting robot designed by Lee Chowland's Violet Systems to be the ultimate fighting machine. However, due to rushed production and programming glitches, Combat could only mimic one fighter's moveset at a time, making it far from the unstoppable force intended. Combat possesses all the charm of a defective toaster. Like, look at his arms. What possibly he can do with that useless shit in actual fights? Look, okay, I know ours excellent was definitely not on something while doing this fucked up design. Either way, it can replicate moves, but its rushed production and glitchy programming transform it into representation of my ex-wife. Furthermore, Combat's fate remaining unknown after the tournament suggests that it might have encountered challenges or situations where it couldn't overcome more powerful opponents. Its inability to simultaneously mimic multiple fighters, I assume, speak about that it can be defeated by a group of fodders who could possibly gang up to him or might simply be a significant disadvantage in combat scenarios. In a direct fight against more specialized and powerful opponents, it gets trashed pretty easily. For clarification, I'm referring to just combat, not his severely improved Super Combat DX version. First of all, it's not canon, and secondly, we know it existed at some point as we see him as a cameo in the background stage. So, at his maximum potential, he's on par with the Mishimas, maybe a little lower in terms of skill and fighting prowess, but the canonical combat in tournament is nothing more than a trashed canister. Mokujin is a Japanese Pinocchio, brought to life a wooden training dummy with a mimicry combat style. In the story, he's portrayed as a mannequin built 2,000 years ago from white oak. While he's awakens to significant dangers, we may not know his actual nature. Well, you can refer to him as a living incarnation of nature will. He can feel spirit's spiritual power, key whatever you prefer, and determine their opponent's strength too. Surprisingly, he can actually speak even more competently in comparison to some characters. But in his language, I guess, once a man said, "When the world teeters at the brink of chaos, it shall appear, Wong Jin Rei," and Kumita refers to him as a messenger from the gods. So, think as you wish about that. And at top of it, he can be reborn. I know that because he spoke about his body being destroyed. So, there can be armies of Mokujin, enforced by will and force of nature. He has an expansive knowledge and potentially psionic power, as Anna refers to herself as someone reading her thoughts. So he's a nature will, reinforcer of gods. Or I'm overthinking this all the time. But why Mokujin in that particularly low placement? He hasn't achieved any actual wins, and has multiple thousands of copies of himself, implying that he's not as unstoppable as he seems. Why would nature need an army of him if he's enough as just one? No particular feats, lore impact. Other than that, he's kind of an antichrist omen to the end of the world, because he awakens when the world gets messed up by some world threats, except for one time, when he doesn't awaken by Azazel's powers. I guess it makes sense, as Azazel views humankind like parasites that have plagued the world because, in a way, we are. So, he wants to destroy human beings as the rectifier of all things, and nature doesn't mind that because we are essentially, by fact, parasites. So, I guess there's no need to awaken Mokujin to try to stop world threats because it's beneficial to ecology, but other than that, nothing else, like simple as a lighter, can possibly immobilize him for good. What he could possibly do if he were to catch on fire, well, by the end of the day, he's essentially just a living training dummy. Kinjin is a golden version of Mokujin. Gold is greater and heavier, so by logic, he hits way harder than wood, even if this makes him essentially slower and softer. Therefore, Kinjin is above Mokujin. Then there's Tetsujin. He is basically a Mokujin, but made of iron. Well, I think there's no need to explain the difference between wood and iron. Gold is softer than iron, so Tetsujin is above Kinjin.